Let us know when we can go, Frank.
Oh, here's Lillian. Let me just let her in. All right, everybody's in. Lillian's connecting right now.
Okay, we good?
Yep, we're good.
Lisa, call the meeting to order.
As required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on January 14, 2021 by providing notice in the express times and posting of said notice in municipal building on the same date. Mayor Barsney?
Here.
Mr. Baylor?
Here.
Mr. Beam?
Here.
Mr. Marqueta?
Here,
Ms. McDermott?
Here. Here.
I got you, Lillian.
Okay.
Lillian, did you start your video or you want to be off video? You're not on video right now.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it because I'm doing it on another computer.
See on the bottom, it should say start video.
Share screen, start video, share screen. Okay.
You got Brian.
There you go.
I'm using my phone.
Yeah. Okay, I thought maybe you were having a bad hair day and you just didn't want us to see it. You know, we've been doing these, I think this is like our 14th month, and we haven't been doing the flag salute, and I always felt funny about it, whatever, and I'm not saying we have to do it tonight. It's strange to do it virtually, but it is May, it's Memorial Day is this month, and I just think we should take note and remember the veterans and soldiers who have died and given the sacrifice for us over the years and so many wars. I just would like to make mention of it, and we note it in our meeting for this month that we are remembering them, at least in our thoughts and our prayers, even though we haven't been doing the flag salute so much virtually for the 14 months. So. Okay, looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from the regular meeting of April 15th, 2021. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
Second it.
Any corrections, redactions, comments? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
We're holding the executive session meetings for a month minutes because the attorney Lavery wasn't available, so he has to review them before we could put them out for public. So they'll be on probably the June agenda, just so you know why it was pulled. Looking for a motion to accept the treasurer's report and the May bill list. Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
Second it.
Anybody have any questions or comments, or you need to pull anything apart on this, separate them or anything, or?
Yeah, when I was down signing them yesterday, there was lots of questions and things that came up. One of which is there's an invoice there for somebody that doesn't belong to the fire department or the rescue squad who's getting hepatitis B shots, and we're being billed. I just put a note on Susan, to tell Dr. Grubb to put it back. But I got so many questions with some of stuff with engineering and things of that nature. I think they're all going to need to be paid, but we got to have some explanation, particularly with one from Key Tech, which was from November with the Rickline Hill thing. It's late. Where's the money coming from? I'm just not understanding these. And I can read you the actual list numbers off if we just want to set them aside till we get an explanation. I know they're going to need to be paid, but it would be nice to get some clarity, particularly with some of Mike's billing for the basketball courts and stuff like that. We're up to $4,500 and we haven't even, we're no closer to having anything resolved or looked at one way or another. And I just like a little bit more explanation about, why, some of the designs are up to $900 and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Mike's not here tonight, so we're not going to be able to do that. I don't want to hang up all of his bills, but I think that they need to be better explained. And I do have the list number here if we're interested.
Well, you want to put it on and maybe Lisa could do an email to him and ask him for some follow-up on those, but we could still pay him tonight. You okay with that, or you want to hold?
Yeah,
it?
I'm okay with it. I'm sure they're going to get paid, but we just need to have a little bit more detail about what's what and where's where. I mean, because I think $3,700 of this shouldn't be coming out of general engineering. It has to do with, well, actually altogether like $4,500 with the basketball stuff. I thought we were ponying that up out of open space, not general funds.
Well,
Is that accurate, Frank?
Yeah, that was my assumption.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a matter of where it's getting pulled from and stuff. So there were just a couple of the things that I saw right there. So like I said, I don't mind having to approve them, but Lisa, I'll go slowly here.
Okay,
Bill number 20-00888. Number 21-00400. 21-00398. 21-00427. And 21-00429. Again, I don't have a problem paying them, but we need to have some detail.
Is that it then?
Yeah, that's it on my end.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or need anything pulled? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything they need pulled from the consent agenda between the police department, DPW, clerk, ACO, or court?
I think Lisa's report needs to have some conversation.
Yeah, she had asked for that already, so, okay. Lisa, you want to go ahead with, you want to talk about the park permits and some other things?
Well, the one item was if you guys recall, I think in November, I had sort of separated the new park forms that were prepared by the open space and then, put on the website. I had separated out the pavilion rental forms since that's really handled in the clerk's office and not by recreation. You guys had, I think, approved that in November. The new form that I put in your packets tonight basically removes the pavilions then from the park facility use form. And in lengthy discussions between Brian and the rec committee and Joe Mexi, there are special circumstances that kind of hadn't been thought of in the past regarding, say, field use and special outlines and the setup for that. And so those are the modifications. And I've been, like I said, working with Joe Mexi and with Rob Carpenter and Brian Baylor. And we feel like this form is really close. If there are any additional adjustments to it, it would be in the dollar amount that Joe feels we need to charge for those things, just to make sure that the township is whole on those when somebody rents them, is essentially what it does. So if you guys have had an opportunity to review that and you're okay with it, I don't know if you want to have any questions for Brian or Joe, but I can continue to work with them as, prices may increase, say for paint or what have you. But if we could approve the use of this form, it would save a lot of confusion with rentals.
Brian,
And this
you have
came-
anything to add? Okay.
Well, this came up because June, we're going to be renting out the field. I believe for a month, right, Joe? Joe unmuted.
I think he's trying.
Yes, I talked to Rob Carpenter about that, and it's 2 nights a week through June, and then there's a break in July, and I think there's 1 week, I think 2 nights in August.
Yeah, and it's a local organization too, so it's lacrosse.
Okay. You're okay with the Form 2 now, Brian and Joe? You're both all good with it too?
If Joe's fine with it, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what the prices are now. The only issue we're gonna have is what paint's going up to. I just ran into an issue today. I called Rob Carpenter. Field lining paint is becoming scarce. Can't get it through the one vendor, and I grabbed 18 5-gallon pails because my other vendor here told me he's not sure in the next 2 weeks if it's going to be available, and they don't have no foresight when it's going to become available.
But
So
that
I
gets
think
stuck in the
we'll have.
Suez Canal too?
What's that?
I said, that gets stuck in the Suez Canal too?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened here, or was it they were making home interior paints because everybody was home over the last year and a half doing that, and they stopped making field paints because
Oh, my
there was
God.
no sports going on.
Burned up with the chlorine.
Yeah,
Okay. Brian, you want to make a motion to adopt that form?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the forms.
I'll second it. Anybody have any other questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
You have anything else you want to talk about, Lisa, under your report?
Unless anybody has any questions, that was the one action item that I had.
Paul, did you have something that you would
I
mention?
do. Lisa, I thought last fall, the Bondi bar license and everything got brought up to date and thing, and I'm seeing your note here that the ABC's considered it dead, as you put it here. What
Yeah,
happened?
Unfortunately, it is. Essentially, when I spoke to you in the fall, they had finally come in and they paid their municipal licensing fees for 2019 and 2020. When he was in my office, it was understood that he was then going to pay the state fees that were delinquent as well. Apparently, he did not pay the $200 state fee for 2020, and they never filed, if you read my notes here, the 1218 or the 1239, which they were supposed to do. I was able to track him down and I spoke directly to him and I explained to him that the state is now considering this dead, and if he wants to resurrect it, he needs to take immediate action. And he said that they definitely want to do that, but we'll see, because it was the same sort of situation last year, unfortunately.
Right. No, that's a shame, because I know I had spoken to them too, and they wanted to keep it active, and
Yeah.
and I'm just have visions of a chain restaurant eventually being able to use it, and once
Right.
it's gone, it's gone.
Once it's gone, it's gone. And that's what I expressed to him. He's, right now they have a dilapidated building, but they have a liquor license that has value to it. So they
Right.
could take very simple steps to at least preserve the license, and at least it would add some value to that property. And unfortunately, they have not done what they need to do. So
And that's a shame, and I hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, so thanks for that. But now let's talk about, I mean, is this an appropriate time? I see the tax collector and CFO want to bump out of Edmonds and go to something else. Is this a time to talk about this, or does this get talked about elsewhere?
No, I mean, if you have a question about that, we can certainly talk about it. I don't have any quotes from MSI yet to even provide you guys with an idea of a cost savings or anything.
Well, again, I don't necessarily know that there's savings. What's the reason behind it? Why are they looking at that?
I think you find this in all municipalities. People that are familiar with Edmonds want to stick with Edmonds. People that are familiar with MSI want to stick with MSI. It's sort of a, what software you're familiar with. And both our collector and our CFO are both, more comfortable with MSI, and they find Edmonds difficult to use. So
That seems to be a common thing I've heard for years now about Edmonds. Everyone's complained that it's difficult to follow.
yeah, I personally, just with the dog licensing program, I think it is the most complicated, difficult animal licensing program you could possibly create. I can't speak to tax collection and but if I can't issue a dog license in under 15 minutes, there's a problem. So
Well, let's wait and get the quote from MSI, see what it is. I mean,
right?
If it's not that much, if it's no more expensive, I'd rather accommodate the people who have to use it.
Exactly. And
my
again, there
opinion.
could be a cost for the conversion. That might be something that the township committee has to consider, but I don't have any of those numbers yet, unfortunately.
Okay. Paul, anything else?
Lisa, you don't have it written down here, and is this the time you want to discuss the employee handbook, or are we saving that for executive?
Paul, I was going to mention that if I could.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
something I can discuss.
Yeah, we're doing under the committee reports then, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I
Is
have a
that everything?
question about the Recreation Committee. What's going on with the bylaws? Why haven't we gotten stuff back yet? It
Let's
says,
do that under the committee report too. Right now, I want to get through the consent agenda for police department, DPW clerk, ACO
Okay.
report. Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else have anything on those items? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt them
I'll make the motion.
or accept them rather. And I'll second it. Anybody else have any other questions? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, committee reports. Who has them and who wants to go first?
I have one. I have some, but I'll let Lillian go first if she wants.
I just
Okay.
wanted to bring up that I know that in every township right now, the Clean Communities grants, those annual reports are really important. That if we, and I kind of written something, but I get a little nervous speaking, but since 2010, Greenwich has been delinquent in filing these reports. So that represents over $134,000. Not only if we don't file them correctly and in timely manners, it affects what we will get awarded or if we would the next year. Now, Lisa's been working or trying to work with Bob Vetcherson, who thought that they were being taken care of, but she's taken it on to take care of them herself. So I feel that I'd like to make a recommendation that we have Lisa continue working on them, give her her salary, pay her whatever her hourly salary is, but for that project, cap it to no more than 12 hours that she would be working on it. And if she needs additional time, she'll need to come back to us and explain what's going on. But it's really important that we take care of that, as well as the employee handbook. And the last time it was done, we paid Pfeiffer's between $10,000 and $12,000. Again, Lisa has such a handle on this. She knows what needs to be done. She can take care of preparing it, submit it to someone in Pfeiffer's office for their review, discuss whatever changes may or may not have to be done. And then again, that will save the township substantially a lot of money. And with that, I would say, let's try and cap her at no more than maybe $1,000, $1,200 of what it would cost to have her do it in her hourly rates and have her come back to us if additional time is needed. But she really is been working on it and is on top of these two projects that are pretty important to us as a committee, that we have her take care of them and they get done properly. So that's what I,
Lisa, let me ask you a question. The handbook, which we did have done since I've been here, and I know that it costs a bunch, and although we don't use Pfeiffer in that general direction now, we're using somebody in Lavery's office. I mean, what changes could possibly need to be made to it that would cost a substantial amount of money anyway? I mean, what has actually changed in that handbook that's going to cause a legal bill to be huge or anything, or isn't there?
Well, so on a typical update to an employment manual, in my experience in the past 17 years, it might be adding 2 sections based upon new legislation. Like, several years ago was an anti-sexual harassment policy that they wanted added to everyone's manuals, things like that, that change based on, lawsuits and litigation, and then the insurance company wants to add a policy so that if your people don't follow it, you're protected.
Right.
So
So have
typically it would
you
be,
gotten those, have you gotten that information then?
so
There is some
I
information to be added?
really delved into it today, and so this year is very interesting. It's different than in most years and the updates that might be adding a few sections. Pace has hired a law firm to review everything and sort of consolidate all the policies. So there's more significant changes than in the past. The good news is that all we have to really do is go, I think that we need to use their model policy, which is drastically different than what we currently have. But I think it does simplify it. It sort of combines different sections and makes it easier for us to administer and easier for our employees to follow. And it is kind of outlined for us. When I really reviewed it today, what I'm finding is that we're going to have to just go through and interject things that are specific to Greenwich. So we have unique things like certain parameters that things that we offer to our part-time employees, things like that, that we're going to have to make sure get incorporated into this new model policy. I can tell you by way of example, our old policy, the policy and procedure manual is 99 pages, 156 pages, and our employee handbook is 138 pages. It's almost impossible to get through. The new one, and again, this is a drastic change over the previously adopted one, is streamlined, and the policy and procedure manual that we would follow to implement upon our employees is 99 pages, and the new handbook is under 50. So you can see just based on the pages, that it's really streamlining it. I think it is going to make it a lot better. We don't have a choice. Essentially what happens is municipalities that work with PACE are expected to adopt model policies. You don't have to adopt everything, but they have certain ones that are required. If you don't adopt those that are required, then you forego reduced deductibles and have more exposure to liability if there is a claim from an employee. It's not that they're not going to insure you, it's just that if you have a claim and you don't have, a policy in place, against anti-harassment, and then somebody files a harassment claim, they're not going to cover you as well as they will if you are in compliance and you have your risk control policies in line with what they expect. So I probably have 400 pages sitting next to me that, I could certainly provide a bigger explanation. I don't think you want it, on the record at tonight's meeting, but it's substantive, and, I'm certainly happy to talk about it later. The good news is that they have extended the deadline for the update till November. So at least,
That's good.
All right.
That's good.
All right. So that's kind of that. So obviously there's something that needs to be done, but it shouldn't take an attorney $10,000 to $12,000 to do it. We can do it in-house and have it reviewed.
That's the point. Lisa's going to do it in-house and just
Right.
have Glenn review it.
Right. Okay.
You can have,
So
I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't hear what you said.
I said Lisa's going to do the revisions, then give it to Rich Wenner for his review. He's our labor attorney.
That's where I'm at. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So now let's go to the clean communities. Apparently, and again, I'll be the first one to tell you, I probably let something slip through here because I've been aware of it. And I did delegate and I thought it was being handled, but I didn't really follow up. And it turns out it wasn't being handled. So there's some back work to it. And previous to Lisa and all of us, the previous person that was in charge of clean communities, when I had reached out to him about all of this, was told that there was no paperwork involved, so that our previous clerk left us in bad shape on that, which is why it's been 11 years since it's been done. And I'm in an agreement with Lillian that out of those funds, and there's funds there, that we should pay Lisa additional over and above her regular rate, because this is outside of her scope, to get that all cleaned up for us, because it is important.
Okay. Anything else, Paul, on that? On this?
No, that's it.
Okay, so Lillian, you want to make a motion to authorize up to the 12 hours for the clerk to do that?
I would like to make the motion to authorize Lisa up to 12 hours to work on that project, yes, for
I'll
clean
second.
communities.
Yeah,
and
I
I would-
have a second.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else have any more questions or comments on it? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Do you have a motion to make regarding the employee handbook too, or anything you want
Yes.
to do? Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion also to have Lisa work on the employee handbook, using our labor attorney for any questions that she needs answered, and for his review up to no more than $1,200 to $1,500 max. And then if additional monies are needed, she would come back to the mayor for approval. I'd like to make the motion for that.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions, comments on it, discussion? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay.
Bob, I have one more question about Mike Finelli. Has
Okay.
Lisa and Joe, has he even gotten back to either of you in reference to the maps and reports that, Joe, you had said would be beneficial if you had had them in your office? I mean, Bob, didn't we have a letter drafted sent to him?
Yeah, I actually talked to him about it, and he said he was going to reach out that day to Lisa and Joe. Has he ever talked to you?
Oh, okay.
Not to me.
No,
Joe?
not to me neither.
Okay, Lisa, you want to resend that letter and tell him that it was discussed at this meeting and we're still waiting for him to make arrangements to talk to you and Joe about it? He told me he was going to call and talk to
Okay.
you and Joe to get an understanding exactly what you're looking for and make sure that he gets it to you.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank
Okay.
you. That's it for me.
Okay, Brian, do you have anything? Any
Yeah,
reports?
I can bring up rec. So they had their meeting last night. What was discussed is, and Frank, I guess you could tell me what took place during the open space. They're asking for maybe a planning of phase 2 and maybe having some input on that.
Yeah,
Did you-
so phase 2, I don't know what you call it, future build out. We brought it up on our last meeting. Frank Pinto, our open space consultant, mentioned that he has this entire workbook that he used for another township to plan out all of their future parks. So I think when you mentioned phase 2, you're thinking just about Thomas Stewart Park. And
Yeah,
what the Open Space Committee is doing, it's not just Thomas Stewart Park that they're responsible for. What they want to do is a comprehensive plan for the entire township. And part of that plan is to utilize Frank Pinto's workbook that he used in another township, which is researching everything and of course, getting input from all the different areas of the township. So it's going to be a comprehensive plan. There were no objections to it in the Open Space Committee. Everybody seemed to be on board with it. Frank explained it. I don't think I can explain it as well as he does, but there is a full document that's going to be completed before any decisions are made. So I
did he
think,
give a time frame or is it just an early phase of looking it up?
well, right now it's just going to be, it's research. So
Okay, researching it.
the time frame is it's starting now. So,
Okay. All right. Thanks. So they're also planning, early stages planning a 5K run, which would take place on 10/23. And they're mapping out the area right now. They would like it to at least end at the park and make it an all-day event where the proceeds would go to Officer Belcastro's family. So right now it's early stages. They're planning it. That would take place. They were thinking instead of a Halloween parade, it would be like a zombie run. And I know they have been in contact with the Booster Club too, and the Booster Club was going to help them with it. So that was being discussed. The snack stand's going to be open. It has been on Saturdays, and they're going to get that info out, but in June, Tuesday and Thursday nights, and Memorial Day, they're going to be open for the parade. And recently they cleaned out the top of Stecker, the snack stand at Stecker, and the snack stand at Thomas Stewart. So, and they're midway through. Lacrosse has 1 week left of games, and baseball's halfway through. So and softball, they're moving along.
Okay. Do you have any motions or anything you want to make as a result of any of this?
No, and then I guess if I don't know if Vicky wants to discuss anything that's taken place with the school board. I did speak to Maria about the affordable housing and where we think the projected date with residents would take place, and she now has time to plan her budget, but I don't know if Vicky wants to
What did
discuss
you
it.
give, what did you give as a projected date? Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
It was April 2023.
Yep.
So she knows. So it's not going to affect the school year. My recommendation still is if for some reason we can push it to July or end of June, then that's not going to affect the coming school year after that either, the 22-23 school year. So they would have technically 2 years to plan.
Just so you
Did you
all
want-
are aware, Maria did reach out to me by email today and was asking for those projected numbers. So I have sent an email
It's on-
to John,
No, it's the projected, what the number of,
projected number of students
it's on our
potentially.
website. It's right on our website.
Okay, it is a document that's up there. Okay.
Yeah, if you go look at affordable housing, the projections are up there.
Okay.
Brian, you mentioned Vicky, she's muted right now. Did you want me to?
Yeah, see if you want to unmute
Vicky, I'm
her.
gonna unmute you. I'm gonna ask you to unmute Vicky if you want to comment. I clicked, there you go.
Okay, unmute. Yes, thank you. No, I really don't have anything on that, but one comment I would like to make is because we met last night and as we talked about the shared services agreement, I just want to commend Joe Mexi because Maria commented about how since Joe has been the head of DPW, how the services have been extraordinary and exceptional all year long. And as far as getting the fields ready for graduation, filling the potholes, addressing some of the drainage issues that we've had at the school, the district is really happy with the job that he's been doing. So I just wanted to commend Joe on that.
Thank you.
Vicky, if you could email me your information. I didn't have your email to discuss anything with you or your contact info.
Okay, I will,
That'd be great.
what's your email address?
It would just be bbaylor@greenwichtownship.org.
Okay, bbaylor@greenwichtownship.org. Okay, I will do that. I'll do that tonight at the end of this meeting.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay.
Anything else, Vicky?
Looks like no.
Offer
Oh,
anything?
me? Oh, no, that's it.
Anything else?
No, she said that's it.
Okay, thanks for joining us again, Vicky. Always nice to have you. Okay, Brian, you done for your reports?
Yeah, thank you.
Lillian, did you have a question for him from Rec about bylaws? You started earlier.
Oh, you did.
You got an answer on that? You're okay?
Lisa, did they discuss the bylaws with you yet? Lisa's
Not
been on
yet. I
top.
haven't received anything.
Okay, I will text them. They definitely didn't discuss that unless they were in executive yesterday, the bylaws. I'm gonna see. I know there's some changes that needed to be made.
Okay,
I'll see if they could just send them to Lisa to look over them.
okay.
Is there any
Frank,
questions you want me to ask, Lillian?
No, I was just wondering where we were at with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a copy out there, but there's some changes that need to be made.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Frank, do you have any reports?
Yeah, couple of quick updates. Land use board, our chairman, Ray Buckwalter, announced that his house is up for sale and he's going to be moving, and he resigned as the chairman of the land use board. New chairman and vice chair were voted on. The new chairman would be Bruce Williams, and the vice chair is Mark Scuderi. So this as an FYI. Although Ray Buckwalter resigned as chairman, he has not resigned as a member of the land use board.
Frank, did he say if he's staying in town? Is he moving
I,
out of town? Do we
I'm
know?
assuming he's moving out of town. Why would he resign as chairman?
Yeah, but he didn't resign from the committee?
No,
What, are you gonna be taking action or voting at the next meeting? You know,
possibility. Yeah, it all, yeah. The
I just don't know. if that's
master plan
appropriate.
review, we have, I don't know if Ingerman's gonna come for a site plan review or not
Okay.
yet, but we could have some affordable housing coming up.
I mean,
So wouldn't that be a conflict of interest that he doesn't resign from both? Why would he be on one?
I
if
don't
he-
think, I don't think there's a conflict of interest. I think it's more
Well,
of
a
a,
conflict of interest to us. He would be voting on something in a
Yeah.
township he no longer lives in.
yeah, potentially could have an impact on all of
Because-
our residents.
Yeah, he's technically a resident until he moves, obviously.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't think he has to resign. But I've always found Ray to be a pretty stand-up and straightforward guy.
Okay,
And I don't know why or how he would, if it was somebody else, he would explain that they should be voting on something that would impact everyone else, and he would be moving away from and never feel the impact of. So, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Ray. I have no problem with him, but I just think I think it's at least an appearance of a conflict, like Lillian's hinting at, is he's voting on something that has no impact to his life, his home value, his future here. And he's a pretty understanding guy. Maybe if somebody posed that to him and put it that way to him, maybe he would
Well-
understand that and step up and do that. I don't know, but I don't
Good.
think, is Larry
I would-
coming?
I would-
We have time for Lavery to check with Lavery, but I don't think there's any way to ask him, make him resign, but I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, why would you vote on issues in this township when you know you're moving away? And like I said,
exactly.
he's a pretty fair-minded guy. I don't think he would argue that point.
yeah, no, and you know what, Bob, I agree with you. He's done a really stand-up job as the chairman. I do have a lot of respect for Ray. He's done a lot of good things, but I do find it a little bewildering why he would resign as chairman and not as a voting member of the land use board. So I would agree with Lillian, you and Brian in that maybe, you know, you're the mayor, maybe we authorize you maybe we authorize you to talk to him and ask if he would.
Poor Bob.
I mean, I'll do it if you want, but
Nasty thing at all. I mean, it's not like I'm.
it's
calling
not
you.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
I have respect for Ray. I think he's a well thought out individual and a qualified guy and really knows a lot about zoning. But it is a bad appearance to the public that he's voting on matters that he's going to walk away from.
Yeah, especially in important matters like that.
Yeah. So
Could we make a motion, or are you just gonna call him?
I'll just call him. I mean,
All right, cool.
I'm not going to do anything nasty with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of explaining to him how we feel.
And-
I guess, is that a unanimous feeling?
And knowing,
Anything. I don't, can I call and say we unanimously agree on that, or Paul, do you disagree? You're the only one that has a comment.
No, I hadn't put that much thought into it because, you know, again, it could be months before he moves. He just wanted to get the leadership rolling, changing, because he knows he might not be there that long. I'm just processing what everybody said. Again, I think Ray's kind of a stand-up guy. I don't think he'd make a bad decision, but I understand appearances. Yeah, no, you go ahead and have a conversation with him, you know, talk it out and see what he thinks.
Okay.
And maybe we could come up with create a plaque for him. I know he's, you
yeah, I
know,
was
served.
gonna bring that up
Oh, yeah,
too.
we'll do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely, you know, he's put in some really good
Yeah,
lot of years of
it's gonna be a loss to the township. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, no
Yeah.
doubt. No doubt. He's been really stand up.
Very knowledgeable.
Yep.
Okay,
So anyway, that was one thing on the land use board. The other thing came up in the meeting about signing off on the vouchers. They kind of threw it back to, they don't feel comfortable signing off on vouchers. And they would like the township to just take it over again, which I don't have a problem with, but I don't know how everybody else feels on that. I know we had put something together where we were gonna have them take a look at the vouchers or the invoices before we pay them.
So they are still going to always be on the bills list for the township committee's ultimate approval. I was really just trying to facilitate the land use board understanding what bills were,
So you're just giving them a heads up. You're not asking them to formally approve anything. Is that what it is?
No, it's really like the way that we do it in Bloomsbury is that the planning board gets to review them and all members get to understand, since you guys are involved in the applications, you have an idea that something's taking 6 months and a lot of professionals' time, that sort of thing. Just making sure you guys understand what's being billed before it goes to the township committee.
Makes sense. But the consensus, I'm just passing along with the consensus of the land use board. Paul could talk to it too, but they didn't think that they need to sign off. Now, I think definitely you should keep sending it to them, but I guess maybe they were asking, do they need to formally sign off? I just want to be able to bring back to them an answer on that from the town committee.
Gotcha. If they would rather not actually sign off on the voucher, I'm sure we can work that out. Normally, and what I had explained in the email was that the vote on the record would typically be a motion to authorize those bills to be paid, provided that funds are available, because anything they would be reviewing would be subject to an escrow account. And it's really just a double check to make sure, because there's been such a disconnect between the township finance office and the land use board and the bills that are coming in and the applications that are pending, and making sure there's money to pay the professionals so that the township committee is not then forced to make a decision where all taxpayers are paying for one applicant's work.
Yeah,
to be done.
maybe, Lisa, can you put that in writing maybe and send it to Bruce?
Yep.
But that's what we're
absolutely.
looking for. All right, that'd be great. Okay.
Sure.
That, and then we brought up plaques. So as everybody knows, that there have been some donations to the park from various Eagle Scouts, and the Girl Scouts did something there. And a few times they have asked for their names to be put on things, and we have a policy where we don't put the names of donors on things that are being done at Thomas Stewart Park. So I was thinking, in lieu of that, excuse me, in lieu of that, I think maybe be appropriate that when somebody makes a donation to the park, we give them a plaque from the township. So I think the last 3 things donated were, we got the bike rack, the building for the bike rack, we got the picnic tables, and now we have another Eagle Scout donating benches. So I was thinking we can get plaques, for all 3 of them, since we didn't give any formal plaques to the previous 2. Lisa ran a cost on them. I think maybe, I didn't think of it then, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we need to add the Girl Scouts to that too, because they donated the little library.
Library, right?
Yeah. So I think that would be 4 plaques, if everybody's okay with us creating that and thanking them for their donation and recognizing them from the township.
You making a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to generate 4 plaques for the aforementioned donations to the Thomas Stewart Park. And then Lisa, I guess you could find out the names of if you have any trouble, let me know.
Yep, I'll take care of it.
I'll
So
second
before,
it.
at this point, it's 4 plaques.
Okay. Lillian seconds it. Any other comments, questions on the discussion? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, and then Bob, the truck issue, we're gonna talk about that
That's an
executive.
executive, yeah.
Okay.
One quick question though. Well, earlier we spoke about open space. you're having Frank Pinto, is there gonna be bills for Frank Pinto for looking into this?
No, Frank Pinto is, it's all covered under his original agreement.
Okay, okay. That's, you're done then?
Yeah,
Okay. Paul, you have anything, any reports or whatever?
The only thing, well, actually, yeah, there's two things. And I got, at least everybody got, email copied of, from the Environmental Commission?
Yes,
Okay. Well, so the first
which I think
question-
I addressed one of those, Paul, by forwarding them the ordinance that you guys adopted last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll get to that one first. I'm on the first one. The Environmental Commission had expressed concerns about the farmland, north and east of the town, how all the tree lines were decimated and piled up and everything else like that. And they'd reached out to me and I had told them what, and again, when it first started to happen a couple of years ago, I reached out to the people who oversee the farmland and the preservation and all this good kind of stuff. And the answer was, and nobody likes it, but the answer is they are allowed to do that if tree lines impede the growing of crops, be it shade, roots, branches, or whatever. The farmers are allowed to take down the tree lines to better their crop yield. That's it. That's part of the right to farm. On the positive note, the big ugly piles only sit there for 2 years and then they burn them off. So we used to have it right down in Greenwich Street, right in the middle. There's nothing that can be done about it. They're within their rights. So the Environmental Commission had expressed interest, and I had told Joe Cicchello that, I have researched it, and unfortunately, it's not a great answer. And yes, they're eyesores for the time being, but they will eventually disappear. And then the second thing was, and let me just flip right here to it. And this is more had to do with the fertilization and use of pesticides on town fields and neighboring fields. And as I had told them that a year ago or so, Frank had introduced some legislation or ordinances that if they're going to use herbicides and miscellaneous things, that it needed to be reported to the town. Their biggest concern was the use of these herbicides in and around Thomas Stewart Park, and should the park people know. One of their biggest concerns was the annual spring crop of the chicken manure, the dry manure, because it's very dusty for a day or two, it smells for a day or two, they till it in, it's gone. They thought that maybe that dust cloud that was there might be hazardous to everybody's health. And again, I stated that it's pretty much fertilizer, and these are the rules that are involved. And we also have an ordinance about pesticides and things like that. I'm not sure how they're reporting or whatever, but I said,
follow up. I think we got to follow up on that.
Yeah, there's ordinances that are in place just for those purposes.
Yeah, we should put that, Lisa, on the next agenda to follow up on Michael Avery about enforcement of, I see Joe wants, Joe was asking to speak, Paul, or do you want him to speak?
Sure.
Okay. Or we could wait till public comment. All right, Joe, we'll let you
He's
talk.
part of the Environmental Commission.
Joe, we'll let you talk, Joe. You should be able to talk. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Your video moved. There you go. There you go, Joe.
Hi, okay. I would clarify that we were not for that, for the pesticides and whatnot near the park. We were mostly concerned with letting the park, the people who are enjoying the park, just let them know, make sure they know roughly when these events are happening. And it sounds like the ordinance passed in December might give us that information. So Frank, if I could find out more about that from you sometime soon, maybe that's resolved. Maybe we can post something at the park.
Yeah, well, that's where I want to get, that's why I just asked Lisa, I want to get a follow-up on next month's meeting. Because we did pass the ordinance because we wanted everybody to know what's going on around by their homes. I just don't know if it's being enforced. It doesn't sound like it is, or maybe there wasn't enough notice. So I want to follow up on Michael Avery on that one. And then
Okay.
maybe we could, Bob, maybe you could just send something to Mike, asking him, where we are with that, because I don't think we've gotten any reports from anybody. I mean, I know Lisa, you haven't gotten, right?
No, last
Wow.
I recall, we were talking about posting it on the website, but I think we were thinking that Mike Lavery would have to draft a letter that we would send to all of the
All right, so,
farmers. I don't know.
I thought also it was something that they already had to do with the state and that there was on the agriculture website or something too, came up doing that.
right, so I think what Mike had mentioned was, anytime they submit something to the state, they send a copy to us,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then, so I don't think we've gotten any copies. So I don't know that the word's gotten out. And I think that's where the disconnect might be. So let's follow up with Mike on that. We'll
I
put it
have a
on
note. I'll
next month's
definitely email
agenda.
him.
Yeah. And say maybe we need a formal letter going out to whoever's farming in the town to do that.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 farmers that are involved, so,
Yeah, all we need is dates and what's being applied.
yep, that's it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they even were aware of it, so but anyway. So with that being said, Joe, that's the direction we're heading and we'll get that information.
Right. And one other thing for the other thing you talked about, Paul, somehow the Township Committee or you found out about those tree lines being removed. If you could just let us know, the Environmental Commission, when something like that comes up in the future, even if there's nothing we could do about it. It's a concern.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was strictly visual for me, and having a handful of people call me and saying, hey, what the heck's going on? Because again, I've always kind of considered farmers to be the stewards of the land. Well, over the last 3 or 4 years, they've been stewards of the yield, not so much the land. But they're within their rights, so it is what it is.
All right, thanks.
Yep. And then my
Thanks,
last
Joe.
committee thing here is the rescue squad has a 2002, actually 2002 emergency vehicles. One's an ambulance and one is a rescue truck. And they were asking if they could take possession of the titles. The ambulance, instead of going out to purchase a whole new one or asking for a bonded one, they want to research the possibility of refitting it, using the original chassis and such, but they're a little leery of doing that without having the title in their possession. But without Mike Lavery here to weigh in on it, I mean, personally, I don't know that there's a problem. I don't know if legally there's an issue or not. So we're probably going to have to table it until we hear from Attorney Lavery.
Well, how about if we do this? You want to make a motion to authorize me that if Lavery says it's okay to sign the title ownership over to the squad, and we may get done with it before the month's up if you wanted to.
Sure. No, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
What does that, Paul, what does that do for insurance purposes? Anything?
It doesn't do anything. The town's insuring them, you're insuring the squad owned property, ambulance and the town owned. So it really doesn't change anything. It might save $60,000 or $70,000 on a refit, might. So that they're hoping to do that, but they really wanted possession of the title. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion, barring any legal issues, that the township sign over the 2002 rescue units to the rescue squad.
I'll
I'll
second.
second that. Anybody have any questions, comments, discussions on it?
Nope.
Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay. Paul, you done? Anything
I
else?
am done.
Okay. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was under the police department, they had a good month so far in May. They've written 38 truck tickets in the town.
Yay.
So that seems to be working out. The class 2's been working some as well, and that's picking up. And also, I'd just like to make note that I don't know if you saw the paper the other day, apparently the police got there first in a rollover of a lawnmower and took the lawnmower off of an individual. So looks like they may have helped him some too. So I just want to make mention of that. I think that's all I have. Okay, professional reports. Finelli's not here. Lavery's not here. Any other professionals? John Mooney's not here. Valerie's here for the budget, right?
Correct.
And so I guess we have no professional reports. Old business, basketball courts. Lisa, you have some on that?
Yeah, so attended the bid opening on Tuesday morning and we did not receive any bids. So it would be appropriate if you guys want to move forward with trying again to get a bid for the municipal building basketball court rehabilitation project, that we do a motion on the record to re-advertise for that. And I had discussed this with Frank earlier about possibly seeing if the Township Committee would like me to advertise in more than one newspaper. And also I'm always in favor of all bids to be advertised and available on our website. So if you guys could authorize that I get that from Mike Finelli so that I can assure that happens, I think it's good to advertise, especially those smaller projects like that locally for our local contractors, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make the motion to rebid it and advertise it in more than one newspaper and to also put it on the township website.
I'll second.
Anybody have questions, comments, discussion?
No.
I do on one. Frank Pinto is going to do a review of all the parks and come back with recommendations. Why would we look for basketball courts down there? What if his recommendation comes back that the basketball courts should go in Stecker Park or Field or whatever?
I don't think it's going to be as to where they're going to go. It's going to be as to the need. I think regardless of what happens there, I think we discussed this before. I think, and it's fine to have a different opinion on it, but the discussions we had in the past was regardless of what happens, that we thought it would be appropriate to fix the municipal courts. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. Regardless of what happens.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
No.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
And Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, new business. Anybody have any new business to bring up? Okay, consent agenda. Resolution 3921, Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council. That's us just joining that, Lisa, right?
Correct.
Resolution 4021, liquor license renewal. That's for the old Paisanos.
That is for Applebee's. They're the only ones that have completed their application process to date.
Oh, I thought when I was reading it was, okay, for Applebee's. 4121 is the 2021 salary resolution. Resolution 4221 is a lien redemption, and 4321 is the Safe and Secure Communities Grant for the police department. I'll make a motion that we adopt those resolutions. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or discussions on those? Roll call, Lisa.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes,
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 103, 2021. It's an ordinance prohibiting the cannabis business within the township limits. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions, comments on it? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Like to open a public hearing ordinance number 104, 2021. It's the 2021 salary ordinance. Anybody want to, I'll make the motion. Anybody want to second it? Open up public hearing on it?
second,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Frank, have anybody out there looking like they want to talk?
I'm asking everybody to unmute. If you want to make a comment or ask a question, please state your name and address.
Larry Cohen. I have been on the beginning of the meeting, as I thought you knew. I was sitting in for Mike Lavery tonight, and I could not get in because I was advised that the host would not allow me to be in, but I've been listening to your entire meeting. And this is the first opportunity I've been able, I even tried to email people during the meeting. But anyway, I am here. I had some comment with reference to certain things you've discussed, but I think one of the issues was the legal of the right to convey over to the rescue squad some vehicles that were previously used by the rescue squad. And that is normally personal property of the township, has to be auctioned off, but there's certain charitable groups that you can convey them to, and one is a rescue squad. The state allows that. You can get a formal opinion from Mike, but I know the one on that. So if anyone has any questions about things that came up or ask me to do anything, fine. I'm not raising anything about that ordinance, obviously. This was my opportunity to say I wasn't allowed in.
Okay, sorry, Larry. I did reference you a couple of times and I didn't hear anything. I guess you couldn't get in, so, okay, but thanks for being here.
Yeah, if you want to put me in, so I'm there for the rest of the meeting and your closed session, if you have any questions.
Yeah, you have the dial-in number for the closed session?
Well, I don't understand everybody's allowed in. I don't know what he meant by not allowed in.
Well, when I say start video, it says the host is not allowing you in.
Oh, yeah, because we didn't know so the policy of the township is if you are just there as an audience.
Member of the public, I understand.
Yeah, we don't allow the starting in the video. We don't allow certain things. Now, had I known who you were, you would have given the same
Right.
accessibility everybody else does. So
Well, I understand it's just an oversight, but I just want to let you know, I'm here, I've been listening, and if you want to let me in now, I'll.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks, Larry. Is there anybody else in the public that looks like they want to talk, Frank, on that?
I asked everyone else to unmute and no one has responded, so I'll do it one more time. Joe. Okay, Joe. Good, Joe.
Am I commenting specifically on that ordinance, or can I
Yes,
talk about the
specifically
earlier?
on specifically
This is
on
not. Sorry.
specifically on that ordinance.
Okay, nothing on that one. Sorry.
Okay. No, and nobody else, I guess, Frank. I'm gonna make a motion. We close the public hearing on ordinance 104/2021. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make, looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 104/2021. Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Everyone second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We open up the public hearing for the second reading of ordinance number 105/2021. That's the COLA ordinance, which is just a mechanism for dealing with the budget. Anybody want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Frank, anybody raising their hands that they want to talk about it?
Asking everybody to unmute again.
Hi, it's Valerie from Isabachi. If anybody has any questions, just let me know.
Sure.
Frank, you might want to leave Valerie open because next is the budget adoption and she's going to need to speak, okay?
Yep, no problem.
Anybody
Yeah,
else?
no one else seems to have a question.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing ordinance number 105/2021. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 105/2021, the COLA ordinance. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second? I'll second. Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, Valerie, we're gonna introduce the 2021 budget. Do you have a prelude or something you wanted to say before we do anything with it?
Nope, I have some words from Mr. Mooney to share with you if you'd like me to, or you can go ahead and do your introduction to your budget, and I can do it in your public portion, whichever you're more comfortable with.
You're gonna go ahead and do your.
All
little-
right. He just wanted me to give you a couple of budgetary highlights in tonight's budget. There is a 2.9 cent increase in the budget. It's about, for your average home that's assessed at 272,000, it's a $78 a year, or $606.52 a month. Your capital budget is up about $200,000, which was mostly offset by your open space and your capital fund balance. And there are 3 projects really, as you've been talking tonight, are your basketball courts and your playground. There's some mowers and some mandated body cameras. Your revenue overall was flat. You've used more surplus. You've used some of your own surplus this year to keep this budget in balance. You had a big tax collection rate in 2020, which actually which reduced the amount that you were anticipating for your delinquent taxes. You've also had you had losses in court revenue and in interest revenue. Your expenditures were up a little bit. Major areas were salary and wages for your DPW due to some additional employee. And pension increase was also a full penny. Your pension costs were a large increase of your budget this year, and you had some additional court expenses. As I said, your capital is really being funded by your open space and your capital fund balance. And if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them as you come up with your budget.
Yeah, one thing, because you went through it pretty quick. I want to make sure the public understand. You mentioned 600 something a month.
$6.52 a month.
Okay, I don't think you said it that way. But
Yep,
just want to clarify.
$6.52 a month, or a total of $78 for the year.
Yeah, go on. Sure, buddy.
Yeah, no, not 600. Sorry, if you sounded 600, I definitely. You'd have a lot of people on this call probably
A
complaining.
lot of people just fainted.
Including me.
Yeah,
Yes, no, $6.52.
yes, okay.
Okay. Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to open the public hearing on the 2021 budget. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Frank, you want to open it up to
Yep.
anybody in the public? Have any questions or comments on the budget?
Everyone's been asked to unmute. If you have any questions, please state your name and address. Don't see any questions.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing on the 2021 budget. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the 2021 budget as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Anybody have any questions, comments on it? Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, it's adopted. Thank you very much, Valerie.
Thank you, and
Thanks,
have a
Valerie.
great evening, everyone.
Yep, have a good night. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, next up is the appointment to the Musconetcong River Management Council. Anybody have any comments on that or any discussion on it or any ideas on what we want to do on that?
who had it? Did Brad have that previously? Is that something that Brad was under Brad? Do you remember?
Well, I don't know. This just came up in the last year, and then in the last few months, they asked about having a representative.
Yeah.
And we
When
don't
do
have
they,
anybody-
how often do they meet, Bob?
I don't know. There was an email on that, wasn't there, Lisa?
Yeah, it was an email from Frank Pinto, just indicating that it'd be good if we had a representative.
But I guess
He
we're all
also-
offering,
Frank
offering
Pinto
a
also- Yeah, Frank Pinto also said he would attend.
yes, he did. Is anybody interested in being his backup or whatever? I mean,
I have a little interest, only because of the dam project that's going on.
okay. With that, I make a motion that we appoint Paul Beam as the mayor's appointment to the Musconetcong River Management Council. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Okay, next Sammy's Drive-In Community Day participation, which is really gonna be Mountain Dew. So I'm looking forward to this business opening.
Yeah, me
Lisa, do you have
too.
information on that?
I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah. Lisa, you have any information on it or?
I just wanted to make the Township Committee aware that they reached out and had heard, I guess, through the grapevine that with our budget cuts, we had sort of eliminated most of the funding for our community day, not knowing if we would have it, due to COVID and everything. So they had made the offer that if we were going to move forward, that they would like to chip in and sponsor, fireworks or something else that we might want for the event, and just ask that if we move forward to keep them in the loop.
That was nice of them.
Great.
Nice of them.
Do you don't have a date of their opening, do you? Do they?
I don't think they have one yet. It's gonna be in the
They don't have
fall.
one yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind attending it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, even if you want to send them an email telling them that we thank them for that offer and that I think I speak unanimously. We all wish them very well and welcome them to the township. And I'm excited to see that property being used again. And they're doing a great job there. I mean, I tried to stop a couple times. When I'm going by and I don't have the time to stop, they're there working. And when I go by and I have the time, I look for them, they're not there. So, but eventually I'll run into them. But they're doing a great job there and I'm excited about that for them.
And Bob, what are they're keeping it a drive-in?
It's
What-
gonna be a food, like a food place, yeah,
Oh, that's good.
yeah. They've done a lot of work already and, I'm glad to see the place occupied after all these years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next is township-owned property, 319 Greenwood Street. Anybody have
Well,
anything on that?
The first one is the township owned property, and since Larry's here, I was afraid we were gonna have to skip that. The Chamois Shine and the folks that own the Madison properties are interested in the corner lot that the township owns right there on New Brunswick. And I don't know if that's considered West Avenue, but it might be. There's a little plot of land there, 0.3 of an acre or something like that, that the township owns. And my previous conversation with Attorney Lavery was that we don't have to put it out for bid, but the two adjoining, anybody who borderlines it is allowed to bid on the property. So I need Mr. Lavery, Attorney Lavery's office to come up with a bid to give to both Chamois Shine and Madison properties for that parcel.
All right, so the way it's, you proceed is we advertise it for public sale, but we have to offer it to the two adjoining property owners. You have a right to set whatever price you want as a minimum or highest bid. I suggest that you ask your assessor for evaluation of that property, based upon the information that the assessor has, and can go up for sale. If one of them wants it, they can buy it. If both want it, then it becomes an auction between the two property owners.
Correct. Both of them are interested in it at this time.
Okay.
What do they want to use it for, Paul?
Well, Madison Properties, for the last few years in which you've been on the land use board, remember they've got a signage problem. If you go into New Brunswick, their signs for their strip mall are right there on the left-hand side and aren't viewable from Route 22. Whereas if they own this property, they could have signage that directly faces Route 22. So I'm pretty sure that's what Madison Properties wants it for. The Chamois Shine is looking to expand their space out there, their footprint. And I don't know that they'd be able to use that for building space or anything, but for all they didn't express to me why. They just interested, but I think that they would be wanting it for signage purposes also.
Yeah, so I have a thing with sign pollution, I think too many signs is not a good thing, and if that's what they want to use it for, and I'm not for it. I'm not for more signs in the
Well,
town.
again, they're going to have to go through the land use process, so.
Yeah, but we don't have to offer the property if that's me personally, I wouldn't want more signs in the town, but
I feel the same way.
Just so you
I would
know,
recommend we keep the property.
just so you know, that I'm presuming the property is undersized under the zoning ordinance. And whoever bought it, if you're going to offer it for sale, it would be attached automatically to that property and would not be a separate piece of property.
But they could always get a,
Well, I'm presuming, I don't know, I'm
they could always
presuming
get a
that
zone variance.
that a sign, I don't know what your sign ordinances are. I don't know what type of signs they presently have. If they have additional space, doesn't automatically mean that they're entitled to a sign.
I don't think,
As Mr. Bean said, they would have to do the site plan process, and they made it a variance. I have no, we can check into that.
I mean, if that's the purpose,
I
all I'm saying,
think Shammy Shine was supposed to be providing Mike Lavery through their attorney, what their intent was to do. I think what they want to do is increase the footprint of their building and probably move out that as the entrance to it there and stuff. I don't know if that's for a sign. The other one, I think they did discuss specifically, said they'd like to have that for a sign, but if they're going to take a sign down and put a new sign up, I don't see the harm in that, so.
what do you mean? What
They
sign?
want to replace the sign that's over by America's Best Value, which I always thought was a strange place for a sign anyway.
Anyway, that's
You
where
know
I'm
it's
at.
there, but you can't see it. You know what I'm talking about? For Target and them, there's a sign over by America's Best Value for that mall.
I haven't noticed.
I never even noticed
I
that.
never-
That's why they want the property, because they have a sign where nobody can see it.
Now, look. Well, Paul's saying they want it viewable from where? From
Route
78?
22,
Oh, Route 22.
because it's not, the current sign's not really viewable, as we just all kind of attested to. But again, there's still a process, and maybe a condition would be you take one down to put one up, so you're not really gaining more signage. It's going to be the same. It'll be a trade-off. But again, that's for another process here. That's not for tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the benefit to the town. That's all. I don't know.
Well, the benefit of it to the town is to end up not owning a 10,000 or a piece of property that's valued at $10,000 and get these minimalist of tax revenue from it versus having to deal with owning it.
Yeah, all right. I don't think it's cost the town any money to own it, but has it? I don't think so.
Not at this time, no.
All right. Anyway.
And then,
Hold on.
so that's that, I guess we should need to discuss what we want to do with that then. So I'm going to make a motion that we prepare a public auction and or bids for the adjoining properties to sell the property.
Okay, you made the motion.
Yep, no.
I'll wait.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, comments, discussion?
Yeah, just bewildering to me, and Paul, not to say anything about you, but it's just weird that you would come and represent the owners to the township. Why aren't they here? To me, it's not, I don't really like the way this is being
They did send
presented.
a letter. It's been brought up for the last two
Yeah, but-
meetings. They sent a
Oh,
letter.
they should be here,
Yeah,
for
attorney and
questions. How come they're not here for questions?
Well, if we want to make that a condition before we vote it down, and we'll get them here in front of a town meeting. I'm okay with that.
where I'm at. Well, I don't know where everybody else feels. I mean, it looks like I might be in the minority. So yeah, we go ahead with the vote.
I would just like to know what the use would be. Obviously, I'm not for the signs either. But yeah, let's vote.
Well, before I vote, I just want to comment. The motion was to put together a bid for the property. I would rather be voting on asking them for a plan on what they're going to do with the property, so we know what we're selling it for. So I'm probably going to vote no to it, Paul, but that's why.
No, that's fine. I got it.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa. Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
No.
Mr. Baylor?
No.
Mr. Beam?
No.
Mr. Marqueta?
No,
Ms. McDermott?
No.
I could also, if it's helpful, I could pull that portion of our sign ordinance and send it out to everybody as well, because, I mean, typically, you know, with a property like that, in terms of, you know, road frontage, you are only permitted one, and it's limited to size and.
Like if they said they were gonna take the one down and replace it with the other, you're losing the sign again, and I don't see the big deal there, but I mean.
Right.
Right, so Bob, you want to make a motion to have both a representative from both companies speak to township at our next meeting?
Well, I hate to get into having hearings and talking. I would rather just have them through their attorney, explain to our attorney what
Okay.
they want to do. And
I
then
will reach out to both parties.
figure out a way to facilitate it, you know, or
Right.
how it can be facilitated, or whatever.
Right,
Send a
okay,
letter.
okay, we'll send a letter.
Okay.
And then 319 Greenwich Street, for anybody that doesn't know it, that's the property to the right of the municipal building. It's up for sale. I know many years ago, our township had looked at purchasing that for the expansion of the police department. We might want to think about that again. I think it could be renovated. It's certainly not the 4,900 square feet that they're currently asking for that would be up by the firehouse. But I think it could be converted for a whole lot less money. And I think that space would be beneficial to the town for other reasons, including for DPW usage.
But that's the
It's for
house,
sale right now.
that's the house to the left, if you're facing the
If
building.
you're looking at it to the left, yes.
Yeah, I got a question. I know we talked about this on the other side. We had actually, Bobby brought it up. We talked about making an offer. How come that,
Yeah.
how come that one we never followed up on that one?
Well, we did, and we figured there was so much renovation that would have been done to the building. We would have been in pretty deep by the time we got done, but.
But probably
looks
like
like it's-
the cost was a
well,
lot less.
and that was before we got pricing on everything new, so.
And with that being said, there's been a resurgence of membership down there, and they were no longer really kind to try to move it on or anything else like that. They're trying to hang on to it right now and work it from the Legion's point of view.
Yeah,
Okay.
good for them. Good for
Yeah,
them.
good for them. Absolutely, sure. So anyway, so I just wanted to roll it right now, as it stands. The police station, the way it currently was sat down with Brad, Joe Mexi, and Chief Hummer. It's 4,900 square feet. We haven't committed to plans or anything. There's a drawing, but we were told to expect it to total into around $1.2 million. That's a significant sum. Even trimmed down, I don't know what the bottom line is. Although this home right now is being offered at $329,000, I do believe that's, I'm going to say exceptionally high. Some people may argue that. It's being tax assessed to somewhere around $189,000. And me personally, I think the market right now for that home is somewhere around 230, 240. But again, it's all speculation.
I don't like to interrupt, but I just want to advise you, you have a right to discuss this in closed session, acquisition of property. Perhaps that might be better served so that whoever owns this property is not getting all of the input that the council may have.
Right, I agree.
They may have an
Okay.
interest in.
Okay,
All right, so we can move that to executive if we like.
yes. Okay, you done then, Paul?
I am.
Okay,
Joe Mexi said he had some old business.
okay. Let him in. Yep, let him in.
Yeah, Bob, last town meeting, you asked me to check into the Lee Farm and about the municipal septic system and get that rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Lee Farm, after I emailed Frank Pinto, and he got in touch with the county rep. It is only an agricultural field, not the Moores Canal, not where former freeholder Miller lives. That all stays with the canal. The canal lock stays there. And also, this is the former Nelson Lee Farm, which his son has the house and the farm yet. So it's truly just an agricultural farm. And right now, it's landlocked. Landlocked by the township's detention area at the end of Wyndham Farm Boulevard up in there behind Frank's. And that's really the only access to it. Because the farm down on 519 is sold, that's where it used to come up through the farmer's property and farm it. So
Right.
this parcel is landlocked and it's only agricultural, so there's no maintenance. And Frank Pino expressed to me that right now he ain't gonna do a lease on it because it's probably already in the process and you gotta find out who's farming it since it's been transferred from the county and going to us. But next year got to do that and then come up with an easement agreement to come across the detention area that's being farmed by Michael Graham as hay to access this field.
Why would
So-
we need an easement agreement? They're farming it now. Like,
What's that?
they're getting on their property now to farm it.
I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. They're farming
Yeah,
it. now.
but then, and really, I guess if I was farming that hay field and knew there was no right of way, I would be coming to you and saying, why aren't you rectifying this? Why are they cutting across my crop?
Why they
because-
cut-
That Michael Graham is farming hay there in the grass area. That's between that and this agricultural farm area.
Yeah, all right, we'll talk about it. I think all you need to do is just put a delineation of how far up they could go with the hay farming, really. So you need.
Yeah, well, that, or just give them an easement in between there or what they're doing. And I said, that's up to you guys. That's not me. Right now, it's just landlocked. It don't have no true access.
Yeah,
Restaurant wars is on.
Okay. And then the second thing, the municipal building septic system, Mike Finelli's guy, we made the contact. He was out here May 6th. And I emailed him on the 11th and I said I needed something to present so you guys know. And I have nothing in front of me and I've got nothing.
Okay.
So I don't know what the design plan is. I spoke to him. He stopped here Saturday afternoon briefly. And he just hinted that he's looking at making a pump station and pumping it all the way up behind the basketball court. But I have nothing confirmed. So
Okay.
right now, that's where we're at, unless you want to go a different avenue for a design.
So we're gonna have to put piping in and everything from there to pump it up to the,
Yeah, and then we'll have to put a meter pit or a pit there and a pump. and a flow system.
whereabouts would the drain field go? By
Up,
above the
up,
basketball court?
it has to, the pipe will have to go up through front of the salt building, up in between the new building and the salt shed up into there. They
Nothing
can't
easy.
come down the other way, the creek's here.
Yeah, nothing
So-
easy.
And sounds like it'd be pretty expensive,
Yeah,
but
Does.
we don't know. He said he don't like putting a septic system under asphalt. I don't know.
yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that update.
Okay.
That it then, Joe? Okay. Lisa, correspondence, did you have something you wanted to say on that letter? Or you just let us know about it, the state aid programs in?
No, just letting you know about it.
Okay. We'll move public comment up so people don't have to sit around and wait. But before I make a motion or get a motion for it, just want to remind everybody that public comment is 3 minutes. It's public comment. It's not question and answer. So I'm just asking members of the committee, if someone's asking a question in their comment and you're having interest in answering it, to write it down. Once we close public comment, then you can address those questions that were asked. Frank, you have to mute everybody because we're getting too involved in this going back and forth with people doing public comment. It's not a dialogue, it's public comment. And it's limited to the 3 minutes. And I think we have to stick to that. That's been the rules for a while. And we started to slip away a little bit. So with that, looking for a motion to go into executive public comment. Anybody want to make that motion? To open it?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With that, Frank, we'll see if we have anybody.
Asking everybody to unmute. They've all been asked. If anybody has a comment, please state your name and address.
I think Joe was interested because he's.
Joe's up. Yeah, Joe.
Hi, yes, Joe Chichello, 1848 Gary Road. I just wanted to briefly talk about that ordinance, the cannabis ordinance. I know that the state legislature, the way they've written this law, it sort of pushes these issues down to the municipal level to do speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing, or at least for 5 years. But I think there's one part of it that deserves a little bit of consideration. So I understand that there are 5 use cases described in the legislation, and the one that applies to us is the most closely is the agricultural one. My understanding of the economic viability of this farming is that it would have to be done in greenhouses and treated as a year-round crop. Since we don't seem to have much in the way of greenhouses in our township, unless I'm just not aware of it, this would require investment on the part of any of our interested farmers. So in the balance, I think that it would be better to have our farmers investing in their property instead of the status quo, which is, I suspect, more along the lines of having them farm the land as is and biding their time until a warehouse or affordable housing project comes along. So with that in mind, I'm wondering whether consideration can be given to amending the ordinance to just restrict the other 4 use cases. Thanks. That's it.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else, Frank?
Anyone else? No one else?
I'll make a motion. We close public comment. Anybody want a second?
A second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody on the committee want to answer or address?
Yeah, I would. So on the greenhouse issue, so I don't know if, Joe, you looked into the issue with the exhausts coming out of the greenhouses, but I don't think if your house was next to one of these greenhouses that was exhausting these fumes, that you would be too happy with it. There've been a lot of complaints about it. There've been a lot of complaints about these greenhouses with cannabis in it by residential areas. So that was one of the considerations to not doing it.
And
The other thing on that is most of the land that we're farming on is preserved. There ain't going to be no warehouse put on it, if that's the concern. I don't know of any land in our town that's being farmed on that's not preserved. If it's not preserved, then it's already in the business district, and it's only a temporary thing before they get some kind of a business put on it. They're only biding their time. So anyway, that was because we did consider it, and that was one of the reasons why we didn't want to, or I didn't want to go down that route, was because of the detrimental effects from the fumes that it causes. So just to let you know. Brian, you had some?
yeah, just would they have to have, I mean, I don't even know, would they have to have armed guards at these warehouses? So there's nothing, crops being stolen? That's another, question to try to find out.
Yeah, and then one other thing to add, nothing
I
that
think
we passed,
it could be a safety concern.
nothing that we passed right now couldn't be revoked.
Yes.
So I think, we stated it in the land use board, so but just so everybody who was watching the video understands, if we don't pass these restrictions now, and there has been determined major issues with cannabis farming in other towns, we can't restrict anything. We have to wait 5 years. This way, we pass it now. If we say, hey, we see it's going good, we don't see any issues, and we want to pull back on it, we could do that. We don't have to wait 5 years. So there's flexibility doing it this way more than doing it without putting the restrictions in. That was why we did it.
And then I'd like to weigh in, and I think everybody kind of knows my standing. I'm not real cool with us restricting farmers for what they can and can't grow. And if the opportunity comes in to actually make a profit on their land versus eking it through, I just don't want to be part of restricting that. So that's why I've been voting the way I've been voting. And I understand we can change it. I just kind of think it's the wrong message right from the word go.
Yeah, I just wonder if you'd feel that way if you were right next to one of those exhausts, if it was your house,
That comes up all the time. Who's next door? Who's next door?
Well,
We're getting to be in the township of no. we don't want basketball courts next to people's homes. We don't want parks next to people's homes. We don't want warehouses next to people's homes. We don't want signs next to people's homes. We don't want buses pulling into parking lots next to people's homes. Where are we headed?
I think that's a good, by the way, if that sounds like a good town to me. Sounds like a town I would want to live in.
So just remember though, Frank, every year when it comes to budget, you're not getting any more ratables, you're not getting any more money. You can't sit there and say, I want to hold the budget flat. I only want to go 2 cents, because we're going up $100 a year, every year forever in taxes. It was 70.
Basketball courts is going to help us get budget money?
No, I'm not talking about the basketball court, just only. I'm just saying is everything that comes up, we're against.
Listen, there's two ways to think about this. There are a lot of people that consider chasing ratables. It's been done in a lot of towns.
I'm not talking about chasing ratables. I'm just saying a fact.
Well, you're talking
not gonna
about
be able to survive on farmland preservation in the current homes. You're going to have to get ratables sooner or later.
you have to get rid of what?
Unless you're willing to pay. Taxes, municipal taxes will go up $80 to $100 every year forever in this township. So in 10 years, you're going to be paying at least $1,000 a year more for your property taxes. And
Yeah, I
that's the
can tell
question.
you.
And that's the question. And that's the question. I'm not arguing with you. That's the question.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah, no, but
willing to vote every year for that $100 to keep all that out? That's the question.
I could show you studies from Rutgers that'll show you that open space is your best budgetary item.
I can show you studies that it's not, but let's put it this way. The question is, this is a simple question. Are you going to be willing to vote every year? Every year, we're talking $80 to $100 is going to go up just from pensions, healthcare costs, insurances, things you can't even control. As long as you're willing to vote that way. But you're always one of the biggest ones argue against too big of a tax increase. You're not going to be able to control it. That's all I'm saying. So the decision is, really, you're making a decision for next year already. We're going to go up $100. And you're going to sit there and say, I think we need a cut. We need to reduce the budget.
Yeah, the only thing is, Bob,
We don't have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem.
yeah, well, see, that's what every town says. And if you look at every town that develops and brings in ratables,
I'm not saying we need to develop. I'm just saying we say no.
well, that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying that we need ratables. That's exactly what you're saying. So let's just look at an example.
No, my point was we say no to everything. We say no to signs. We say no to farming. You're worried about whether they're going to put a passageway on the end of Dillon to go into the property that we just got. That's where you were headed with that. Every single thing. We're a farm community. And we take action against farmers. What do we want here?
How's that an action against a farmer? I want a farmer to get in there. I told him to stop it from going forward. I don't have no problem with that. I'm not against that at all. I'm not. But what I want to mention is, if you look at all these towns that bring in all this industry, all these ratables, they all have higher tax rates than we do. Every one of them. Every one of them.
I'm talking about just rateable. I'm talking about we say no to everything. Everything.
We say no to things because we worry about people's quality of life. That's why we say no to certain things.
Let's move on. I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session. Unless anybody else has more comments.
I'll make a motion to go into.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, I'll probably be 20 minutes, I guess. We're going to be in for the purpose of discussing ordinance regarding overnight truck parking, contracts for the court, and possible real estate contracts. Okay, see you on the other side.
Okay.
All right.